This is Jared Cannonier. It's raining outside, so if you hear drops of rain, then that's why. You can probably hear it a little bit in the background. So a couple things. I normally do what I call like a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So Robert Whittaker, I'd say his strengths are his footwork. He's light on his feet. He's tough. His ability to fight open stance while having the inside foot position, ability to throw head kicks to set them up with movement and punches, inside leg kick, defensive head movement, um, striking first after the break, finishing instinct is high, his MMA grappling is effective, and he has a good cardio for a high pace. So that's I guess, my hypothesis, and now I'll attempt to prove that. So a couple of times he takes a pretty heavy leg kicks from Jared Cannonier, but I would like to point out here that Cannonier is starting the fight. Primarily from a southpaw position. So see, he's standing southpaw here. He started the fight off mostly moving forward in southpaw. See, Cannonier is again standing in southpaw. And that's important to note because you see the jab here from Robert Whittaker lands on the right side of, left side as you're looking at it, but the actual right side of Cannonier's face. And that begins to accumulate over time, so that's a good inside leg kick there from Whittaker. And that jab begins to accumulate over time, and the swelling from that causes Cannonier to switch stances to an orthodox stance later on in the fight. And I think that because he switches stances to try to cover up that side of his face, that allows Whittaker to land even more punches and exploit that weakness, and that's what I think ended up eventually giving him that edge. So the thing that compounded and allowed Whittaker to win this fight was that quick jab right there that you just saw. This inside leg kick, I'd like to point that out because I think that in a situation like this where nothing is obviously open, just to mix things up and to keep Cannonier guessing, he goes for a very low risk, high reward technique here in the inside leg kick. And I say it's high reward only in the fact that he's scoring points on the judges' scorecards, and he's mixing things up a little bit with Cannonier and being less predictable. He steps in heavy with that jab and then a little bit of pivot movement off of that. Here he gets the leg kicked out from underneath him. He's got very good scrambling instincts, so he gets knocked down, got the leg kicked out from underneath him, and immediately jumps back up, hands high. He's right back in the fight, never for a second accepts a position. Again, a characteristic of a champion. He steps into his kicks here, which is kind of interesting because for a guy with a karate background, if I remember correctly, Whittaker has a karate background. That's more of like a Muay Thai thing, stepping into your kicks like that. If you look at like the way Stephen Thompson fights, he just kind of pivots straight into it. He rarely steps into his kicks like that, but he throws his head kicks almost kind of Muay Thai style, where he swings through, and I'll show that later on how one of his head kicks misses, and he swings all the way through with his kick. Again, Cannonier jumping in here. He doesn't allow Cannonier to develop power. Anytime Cannonier tries to step in, he jumps in with a quick jab, and he just continually assaults with that jab. He had a good game plan, a fast jab, in and out, and he stuck to the game plan, and he got it done. Here, stepping in again with that jab. It's kind of a weird jab because he throws it like a jab, but because he throws it from his hip, he can put a little bit of a twist on it too. So it's almost like it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like almost like a jab with a crook in the elbow, which, I mean, some people might argue that that's kind of like almost a hook. I don't know. I don't know anything really. But so here he is again, stepping in. So Cannonier here is in orthodox, but again, he is most comfortable fighting out of southpaw. See how Cannonier goes back into a southpaw stance. And then something I kind of noticed a few times is that a lot of times people fight for the outside foot position. Whittaker doesn't seem to mind fighting from inside foot position from an open stance. Open stance being if you're fighting in, so Whittaker is in orthodox right now and Cannonier is in southpaw. So that would be an open stance. Whittaker doesn't mind giving up or losing the quote unquote foot position battle. I like how he's good. He lands his head kick a lot. That's something he landed against Jacare, and it's just kind of the way he sets it up. He throws it from almost kind of close range off of his punches. He goes jab, cross, and then he throws that head kick at the end. It's a great setup. It's highly effective. He's landed it multiple times, and he's been very successful with that. So again, the key themes throughout the fight are that step-in jab. The foot position here again. See how he doesn't really mind losing that foot position battle, because I think Cannonier was so focused on that foot position battle that he gave up. I think that's what allowed Whittaker to land these jabs so frequently and so often and with such high levels of success, is because I think Cannonier was too focused on getting that outside foot position. And see, again, Whittaker's got the inside foot position here, and he just lands that clean jab. He's in first, and he lands the jab. If you land a punch first, then the foot position battle, I guess, matters a lot less. So again, one of his strengths, I would say, for Robert Whittaker is his ability to fight from that inside foot position. The only weakness, if I had to pick a weakness for Whittaker, is that he leaves his hands low, and that he doesn't fight, because Whittaker almost always fights from the orthodox stance. Very rarely does he switch to southpaw. So if I had to say that Whittaker had a weakness, which he I mean, to be clear, I think he's a phenomenal fighter, but if I had to pick a weakness, it would be that he only fights out of he only fights out of orthodox, and that he carries his hands a little bit low. But again, that's kind of his fighting style, and he makes it work for himself. Dadgummit. It's kind of his fighting style, and he makes it work for him. So, and again, I like this clinch here, this clinch position. Immediately, again, never wasting a position. So he finds himself in the clinch. He's got that left-hand collar tie, again, inside foot position, and he just starts landing uppercuts. He looks to land the uppercuts. He's always on the offensive, always looking to do damage and win from every single position. Again, not in love with the fact that he drops, if you look at his left hand here, the position of his left hand off of that cross, I mean, Cannonier's not very good with his lead leg head kicks. But again, if he was to be rematching with Israel Adesanya or with Stephen Thompson, who has beat him in the past, the guys that are really good with their lead leg head kicks, they're going to pick up on that dipping and leaving that side open, and they'll fade back from that too and throw a head kick up there. So again, Whittaker, great fighter, but if I had to pick a weakness, that would be one of them, the fact that he leaves his hands so low. Especially, but he makes up for it with his aggressiveness, because he's so aggressive and he's always staying on his opponent and he's keeping him on the back foot, and he's in and he's out and he's out. He makes the low hands work for him. It allows him to fight with a high pace, which is another one of the things that he's really good at, is that high pace. And then if you look at this, just a little evasive maneuver here. So he is good at moving his leg out. So he kind of, at first, he thinks about kind of moving his leg. He kind of baits him into it. You see him kind of stomp his leg down, and then Cannonier throws that leg kick. He kind of baits him into throwing that leg kick, slides it back. I think that was intentional, although it could be wrong. Maybe it was just an accident. Anyways, again, I like that he mixes in takedowns. Good transition there from striking to takedown. Off at two, kind of rolls underneath, clinches, gets the body lock, drives into the fence, and then steps around the outside, gets that outside trip from the body lock position, and he's able to drive into the fence. And then Cannonier just extremely athletic and gets up. And this is another one of Whittaker's strengths here, is the fact that he strikes first off of the break. So when they're coming up, Whittaker's always first to strike off the break. As soon as Cannonier starts to get away, he blasts that head kick up there. Never lets him rest for a second. Again, one of his strengths is his ability to fight at a high pace. Sometimes he has kind of an awkward striking style. Sometimes it looks kind of funny, but it's effective. Like right there, it kind of looked awkward, but he did some damage. Good evasive and defensive head movement. So you notice, like, watch the left shin of Whittaker here. When he sees the kick start to come, he turns the shin out, lifts up. So he's ready to check that leg kick, thinking it's going to be a low leg kick. And then he sees the leg start to come up, and he fades back with his upper body. So good defensive awareness. He blocked first what he thought was going to be a leg kick, and then he evaded what could have potentially been a head kick. And then moved back and then stepped forward. And then right off of that, this is beautiful, he comes in with a double jab, 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 and then a two right there. Clean connection. And and stays on him. He's got good finishing instinct. Another one of his strengths. When he has an opponent hurt, he never lets them just rest. He always stays on them. And here another example of that. He hurts Cannonier, and in this particular exchange, again off that 2, kind of just like very lightly jab, very lightly throws that 2, kind of pushes his head down into the head kick, throws that head kick, gets Cannonier wobbled. Now, if you can imagine if we pause the screen here, if you can imagine what would happen if Robert did not have good finishing instincts, if he would have just stayed bouncing on his toes, you can imagine that Cannonier could have hypothetically survived this, got his feet back underneath him, and then potentially come back with heavy shots of his own. But Whittaker, like I said before, has great finishing instincts and doesn't let him rest. Immediately, Whittaker pressures him. He doesn't let him just stand there and get his bearings back around him. He pressures him, forces him to keep moving, and because the equilibrium in Cannonier's head is knocked off for a second, I mean, to him, the world is tilting all different directions. And then Whittaker comes in with this heavy jab, forces him to slip to avoid the jab, and that causes him to face plant here. And Whittaker capitalizes on that, jumps down, got pretty good MMA grappling. Unfortunately, though, I do see some room for improvement in his grappling. Again, world-class fighter, not criticizing, just commentating on what I notice. So the thing that allows Cannonier to break free from this contact is he gets back control. Now this is a beautiful position. Arm trapped, got full back control, over under. I think I think he could have probably finished from this position. He probably, if he went back and watched his own fight, he probably beat himself up a little bit about looking at this position and not being able to finish. Cannonier is able to get that arm free and able to start fighting this position. And the thing that allows him to stand up is that basically Whittaker breaks his grip here. He lets go of the body lock that he had, and he doesn't remain chest to chest. So when you have somebody's back, you want to make sure you have a tight chest to chest grip, whether you have double under, over under, seatbelt, whatever. You want to make sure your chest stays tight to their chest to back. Your chest stays tight to their back. He gives him a little bit of space here, and that's what causes him to lose the position. Cannonier is able to rock forward, post on that hand, and then once he's got some space, he's able to fight free from the position. 2 minutes, 19 seconds left in the fight. Again, Whittaker, very comfortable against the fence. He's able to breathe, kind of relax, get his breath back here. He knows he's winning the fight, and he knows that this is taking more energy for Cannonier than for him right now. Cannonier lands this nice leg right here. He's got good wrist control. Lands that nice knee to the solar plexus area. And then at that point, Whittaker's like, okay, I'm getting out of here. So he rolls over. He fights to get his hand back. He turns his wrist over, gets that hand back. He's got the collar tie there, and then he moves his back, or he moves his hips on the cage. He gets his own hand fighting battle won. So now, if you see the UFC glove there, that's Robert Whittaker's right hand now has control of Jared Cannonier's. Of Jared's right hand, and from this position with the left collar tie and wrist control on Cannonier's right hand, he's able to swivel off of the cage right there, breaks contact, and then immediately gets right back in it. Lands a couple more significant strikes for the fight, and then so here Cannonier now is fighting out of orthodox. Again, I mentioned before he likes to fight out of southpaw, and he's forced to fight out of orthodox to try to protect that right side of his face. And Whittaker makes the adjustment, sees that he's trying to protect that side of his face, and he now, instead of throwing that up jab, he makes the slight adjustment and kind of throws a little hook there, again targeting that side of his face. So Whittaker's fight IQ, again another one of his strengths. He's very smart. He's able to recognize an opponent's weakness and able to capitalize on that vulnerability. And that's pretty much the end of the fight. Whittaker stays on him. A dominant performance by Robert Whittaker, very impressive. Again, I think his strengths are his high pace, his quickness, his ability to fight from the inside position from an open stance. He's got, like I said, he's got good MMA grappling, but there's room for improvement there. If I had to fight him, I'd attack that low leg with the calf kicks, try to force Whittaker, because he doesn't seem to like to fight out of southpaw, try to attack his leg so much that he has to fight southpaw, or to compromise his lead leg. And I try to capitalize on the fact that he leaves his hands kind of low, and I'd go for the left hook because he leaves his right hand kind of low. So I try to go for a left hook and calf kick. So right side calf kick, left side left hook from an orthodox fighter against this. If you had to fight Robert Whittaker, I think potential threats for Whittaker are, if Thompson ever moves up to middleweight to take him on, which he's mentioned a few times, that'd be a threat, and Adesanya. But other than that, Whittaker's fighting style is great for people at middleweight because he can outpace people so well, which again is one of his strengths. Then he can outpace pretty much everybody. He's very tough, very durable, and he mixes things together very well. So that's pretty much my little breakdown of Cannonier versus Whittaker at 185 pounds, going through the rankings. I have a professional middleweight fight locked in for, well, okay, the contract's not signed, but as of right now, I'm looking at fighting April 3rd for Valor Fighting in Tennessee. So if you enjoy these little breakdowns that I'm doing on the channel, like, comment, subscribe, buy my pay-per-view when I'm fighting. I appreciate any and all support that I can get. Thank you very much for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know if you think I left anything out. Let me know if you noticed something about Robert Whittaker that I did not notice that would be useful. And again, leave some feedback for me in the comments below. Thank you very much. All right.